Welcome to English 24. Today we are going to talk about money. First, let's see different ways to say something is cheap or inexpensive. Number one, cheap and cheerful. If something is cheap and cheerful, it is cheap at the same time it is good. Inexpensive, good or reasonably good. Sometimes you go to market trying to get something cheap and cheerful, but you may end up getting something cheap and nasty. Cheap and nasty means cheap at the same time really bad. For example, you can say food in that restaurant is cheap and cheerful, which means it's cheap at the same time food is really good. Quality, taste, etc. And second, cheap and nasty, in that restaurant, which means not this restaurant which we talked about, the other restaurant, food is really cheap and nasty. It is cheap at the same time, it is very bad quality. It is of very bad quality. Next one, as cheap as chips. If something is as cheap as chips, it's really cheap. For example, the second-hand books are as cheap as chips. Next one, dirt cheap. If something is dirt cheap, it is very cheap. For example, Hero motorbikes are dirt cheap when compared with Royal Enfield motorbikes. Now let's see a few different ways of speaking about things that are expensive. Number one, cost an arm and a leg. If something costs an arm and a leg, it is very expensive. For example, Honda Fireblade costs an arm and a leg. Honda Fireblade is actually a motorbike manufactured by Japanese motorbike manufacturer Honda. Another way to say something is very expensive is cost a fortune. If something costs a fortune, it is expensive. Luxury cars cost a fortune to run. It requires a lot of money, maintenance, fuel, and insurance, so it's going to cost a fortune to run luxury cars. Next one in the list is going to be the most unexpected one. Dear. If something is very dear, it is very expensive. For example, that car is very good, but it is very dear. That car is very good, but it is very dear, which means very expensive. Next one, break the bank. If something breaks the bank, it is very expensive. Usually you use this in negative sentences. For example, a lunch there won't break the bank. A lunch there won't means will not break the bank, which means it is not expensive. Next one, pay through the nose. If you pay through the nose, you pay a lot of money. For example, we paid through the nose to get the tickets for India-Pakistan T20 match. And do you know what happened after the match? So we paid through the nose. It was all black market. You had to get tickets in the black market. And we paid through the nose to get that ticket. But unfortunately, that happened. Next one, cost the earth. If something costs the earth, it is very expensive. For example, his new Ferrari cost the earth. Next one, make a killing. If you make a killing, you make a lot of money without much effort, or fairly easily you make a lot of money. For example, he made a killing when he sold his mansion in Manchester, which means he got a lot of money when he sold his property. Next one, spend money like water. If you spend money like water, you spend money without thinking about it, without thinking much about it. So make sure that you don't spend money like water. Next one, on a shoestring. If you're on a shoestring, you do something without spending much money. For example, the film was made on a shoestring. Film, not film, film. Film. So the film was made on a shoestring. You can also say the film was made on a shoestring budget, or you can say I have a shoestring budget, which means you don't have much to spend. Next one, on the breadline. On the breadline means very poor. For example, many people in India are still on the breadline. You can also say below the breadline or above the breadline. For example, many people in Africa are below the breadline. You can say they are below the breadline or they live below the breadline. So many people in Africa live below the breadline and many people in Europe live just above the breadline. Next one, tighten your belt. If you tighten your belt, you start spending less money than before. For example, at the end of this month, I really have to tighten my belt because I don't have much money. I don't have much money left in my account because I spent a lot of money in the very beginning, so I have to tighten my belt now. So that's the end of today's lesson on money, idioms and phrases. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and press that bell icon as well so that you will be notified every time we upload our videos. And also, if you think that it is going to be useful for your friends or somebody else, please do share. And of course, share your comments and questions in the comment box right there. And with that, it's bye-bye from Libby's and English 24.